to Dropping Knowledge. Today is super exciting because it's actually the first guest that I'm going to have on the TLC community. So I wanted to give you a little bit of an intro regarding this guest. Her name is Susan, and she runs a company called All Things Preserved. And I want to let you know why I was so drawn to Susan right from the beginning. So Susan asked me, I'm going to say over 2 years ago, I may be wrong, to speak at a zero waste event that she was throwing in the community in Kitchener. And this is when I was in the food business, and this is when I had to use things like disposable plastic gloves, and where my containers weren't all 100% compostable. I was using plastic. I was doing my best to eliminate as much as possible, but it was impossible for me to be zero waste. So I told this to Susan, and I told her being in the food industry and being so environmentally conscious is a tear at my heart most days, because all the single-use gloves I have to throw out every time I touch something new. And she just said, yeah, we want you there anyways. We want you to speak about, as a food producer in the food industry, what are the steps that you take to reduce waste? And she really cemented that idea that I have when it comes to health. Let's say every single positive step and action you take matters, right? I always tell you guys, and I tell my clients, it is not 0 to 100. Rome was not built in one day. Every little change, from one extra glass of water a week, to cutting out the sugar in your coffee by half a teaspoon, it is something. And similarly, Susan has that outlook when it comes to the environment, which I share. We can't do everything perfectly, but what we do matters. So this is why it was so important for me to have Susan on here today. And in honor of Earth Day, which is coming up this week, April 22nd, I sat down with Susan and we talked about some of the ways that we can reduce waste that are very pertinent to society right now. Check it out. So, hey guys, I told you I was bringing in a very special guest today, my first guest ever that I've had on the TLC community. So this is the Susan that I did on my introduction from All Things Preserved. And Susan, welcome.
Thank you. I didn't know I was your first guest.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yeah, the community has been such an amazing platform for me, and I want to be able to continue to expand it by bringing in other experts in their realm, and you are an expert.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here. Totally thrilled.
So can you tell us a little bit more about what you do, why you do it, and All Things Preserved?
Oh my goodness, where do I start? What I do is offer people a chance to learn about a zero waste lifestyle. So I won't get into whether it's actually zero waste or just reducing waste, but a lifestyle that is cleaner, simpler, produces less waste, and is kinder to the planet. And I do that through household products that we make. I have a team of makers, and basically they're reusable products that replace disposables. Everyday small changes that you can make in your life that don't require a lot of education, they don't require a huge lifestyle change. They're just small steps to being kinder to the earth. And I also do that through education. I offer workshops and lunch and learns and seminars and hands-on interactive as we can be online. Experiences, all centered around sustainability, fun eco kits, up to hands-on making workshops. So those are a lot of fun for everyone, all ages, because you can start this journey similar to yours anytime. It's never too early, and it's certainly never too late.
And I said that's why I resonate with you so much, is it's never too late, and any step is still a step in the right direction, right?
Absolutely. And often people will say, you start with one step and it's going to lead to bigger steps. And for a lot of people, that's true. For a lot of people, that one step is all they're ready for. Mm-hmm. And that's okay too, because one step in the direction of, reducing your waste or removing disposables or single-use plastics from your life is a huge step, and you can be proud of that. And if that's all you do, that's great. That's awesome, because it's more than you were doing before. If it does spur you on to other changes, that's obviously fabulous. So there's no right or wrong, exactly the same as your beliefs, and every step truly makes a difference.
I
So
love that.
my story goes back many decades, and I won't tell you the whole thing, but my father was a geographer. So my childhood was spent traveling and learning as we traveled. So
I
every
didn't know that.
every
That's so cool.
yeah, so every place we went, every camping trip we took involved, even though I was a kid and I rolled my eyes, looking at geographical features in the physical landscape, but also he was a big believer that every aspect of our environment, physical, cultural, economic, social, they're all linked and they all depend upon each other.
Like
So
holistic. Everything is connected.
there we go. Everything in our lives, we don't think about it on a daily basis.
Right.
Like, you know, the takeout food that we get, for example, you don't think about the ramifications necessarily. You might just be going, hey, I'm hungry and I want some food. But
Right.
there are social implications and environmental and community, and the list goes on. And I don't say that to be overwhelming. I say that to make people aware that small decisions in your daily life have an impact far greater than you might be aware of. But once you are aware, it's really empowering. So I grew up that way. And um, when I came up with the name All Things Preserved,
Mm.
at first I thought, this is daunting. Oh, you have to preserve everything. You have to preserve nature. You have to preserve culture and tradition and history and the economy. But what it means is all of these things matter, but you don't have to do all of them yourself.
Okay. I like
So
that.
you might be doing something entirely different. You might have this awesome earth-friendly diet, and the person next to you is, for example, doesn't use any plastic.
Right.
Totally different takes on how they want to help the earth or help their own health, which of course helps the earth. And they're both awesome. So all things preserved means it's open to anything you want to do.
It's almost like you have diversity in that. I love that example where our diversity, the very things that set us apart, the way that I say everybody's different and everybody's different, when
Yes.
working together, help all things preserve. Let's say exactly my neighbor's zero plastic, but he eats, a big amount of beef, which we know what that can do on the environment. I'm
That's right.
vegan. I have single-use plastics that I don't love sometimes, but I'm working on it. But together, all things preserved.
Absolutely. Yes. And, should the neighbors happen to be talking over the fence, socially distanced, you might learn from each other, and you might not necessarily adopt their lifestyle, but it just raises awareness. And the more excited you are about the changes you're making, obviously the more vocal you're going to be. And that just spreads awareness and enthusiasm,
And
which is
continues to give
obviously what your
self-motivation.
community is doing, right?
Yeah, and you too, and continues to give that self-motivation as well, where you empower others and you put it out there. But the excitement that you see in the changes that you're making in your life, environmentally, and health, let's say, it motivates you to keep going and to kind of want to do more, meet
It
you where you're at.
absolutely does. And to brag to people, look what I did.
Yeah,
Not
that's
because
true.
I want to force you to do it, but hey, I did this thing and it was easy. You know
Yeah.
what? I don't use paper towels anymore. I switched to paperless towels. Guess what? No big deal. But look how much money I'm saving, how much paper, how much trees, water, plastic, transportation costs. And you could do it too. Like, who doesn't want to share that kind of success?
Oh, this is making me even more excited. This is like it's like it's taking what I do out of the realm, because that's what I say too, look what I did. It's so easy. I increase my water by 1 glass a week. I feel so much better. And you're doing the exact same thing in your realm, and you're educating and empowering people to do the same, which you do to me as well. Side note, the paperless paper towels, mine are your son's baby blankets, which might sound weird to you guys listening, not knowing what she does, but she can explain this. Nothing wipes up like these things. You don't even know. Like, they are phenomenal. So it's pretty cool what you bring in from your family and from your tradition. You are upcycling things that actually don't serve you any purpose anymore, and you're passing them on. So hence why I literally wipe my counters with your son's receiving blankets, right?
And I always say that, especially when I first started, every fabric has a story.
Yeah,
And
I remember you
just like
said
every
that.
decision has a story. I mean, I could tell you about the camping trips I took and my father, despite being a geographer, wasn't a big outdoors guy, but he did it because what a better way to learn about the earth and the environment and animals, and the list goes on, than, having his children experience it.
In it.
And I've brought that in by asking people to donate previously loved fabrics that they don't have a use for, that may not be in a condition to sell, donate, or
Right.
share with someone, because they're still valuable. They're still a useful material, a useful piece that can have another life. And I will tell one story. A good friend of mine, when I very first started, I had started making produce bags, reusable produce bags out of old lace curtains.
I have them. That was one of the first items I got from you. Like, literally lace curtains that I put my produce in. Okay, sorry, go on. Yes.
Literally lace curtains, exactly. And I mean, there's lots of reasons why lace is awesome for produce bags. But a friend came to me and she said, handed me a bag, plastic bag, but reusable, and said, my grandmother just had to move out of her home into assisted living, and I have her lace curtains. Can you make me produce bags? Well, how connected is that? I mean, of course, I'm happy to make produce bags because I believe in not using the disposable plastic ones, but I got to give her back something that she shared with her family. Every time she puts her head of lettuce in a produce bag, she's connected to like 2 generations ago. And those, I mean, the produce bags are indestructible because they're made of whatever 1970s lace curtains were made of. They don't come with material labels on them anymore. No. But that connection is still there, and that fabric, which would have otherwise probably ended up in landfill at some point, because there isn't a big market for lace curtains these days.
Not really. Sorry to all you guys that have lace curtains. Love lace. My wedding dress was lace, but yeah, I hear you.
But in comparison to how many lace curtains are out there and have been out there for decades, and how indestructible they are, there are a lot that don't get used. And so being able to repurpose something that has a story, I mean, I'm happy to repurpose anything, but when it comes with the story, whether it's her grandmother's lace curtains or my son's receiving blanket, it just adds to the ongoing story of not just repurposing, but people, culture, generations. And it's the same with food. I mean, food has a history and a story, and it, like you said, every person is different, every story, every family. But we all want to take care of ourselves better and take care of the earth.
Yeah. Wow. Like, I'm like having that mind blowing moment. I was like, I did not think we were going to go there, but like, thank you for that. That's amazing with the connection. You're right. So now that everybody,
I've heard you speak about like the emotional aspect of making changes in your life, and what your life was like before, and the diet you had before. I've told people that your story so many times, but it's the same thing. Like, there's no judgment, there's no blame. If someone says, you know what, I'm a family that uses paper towels and I don't see myself changing. Okay, well, let's look at something else.
Yes.
And it's respectful, but you can still make changes. And there's no, like I said before, there's no right or wrong, but anywhere you start is an awesome place to start.
Yes, and that's why I was so drawn to you, because I was like, you want me to speak at zero waste? I'm like, I'm in the food industry. I use like 20 plastic gloves, like an hour sometimes.
Yeah.
And it was okay. So now that people have an idea of who you are, thank you, what you do, can you help us out? You know, this is the whole reason I'm doing this segment. Well, also because it's super rad so far, but for Earth Day, obviously, coming up, what can we be doing? What are some simple changes that you can really help us with in general start?
So I find that a lot of people are sort of, well, are definitely intimidated when they hear zero waste lifestyle. It's like, you know, they think of the sort of stereotypical, hey, all my trash from the entire year fits in a mason jar,
Yeah,
which anyway, we won't get into that.
right.
But I'm a big fan of starting where you are. So there is no list of, here's the first thing you need to do. My favorite question, which is how I start every workshop or event I do, that's kind of an icebreaker, but there's a reason behind it, is to ask people, what was the last thing you threw away? Doesn't matter. There's no right answer. Everyone can have a different answer, but it helps me speak to where you are. So if the last thing you threw away was, you know, wrapping from fast food, and you realize, oh, I do that a lot, there's maybe where you want to start. Or if the last thing I had someone say, oh, it was a glass jar, I put it in recycling. Oh, we have like 3 or 4 bins of recycling every week. Okay, recycling is better than throwing it away, but in your local area, is glass actually recycled? And is there a better option? So when you went to buy that jar of pasta sauce, hey, it comes in a glass jar. If you don't need a glass jar, it's going to end up in recycling. Maybe you should have chosen the can, because the can be recycled. And in our community, at least, our region gets paid for recycling cans. So it's a neat way to just gauge your own lifestyle. So I'm not pushing something on you where you're thinking, I don't even do that. That's not part of, like, it's not part of my daily life. That's not going to help you move forward. So by asking people, what's the last thing you threw away? It focuses on you and changes that you can make. So
Yeah, that's really empowering.
what
Are you
was
going
the
to
last
ask
thing you
me
threw away?
what's
Yes,
the
I
last thing
am.
I threw away? The thing that I keep throwing away that gives me the most anxiety, the things that I use so much of, you guys know in my community, spinach. So not the spinach, that's in my belly. The freaking, because I buy like 3 huge containers of spinach a week. That is like 3 huge plastic containers in the recycling box every week. That is what I just threw away before we started this.
Okay. So I have 2 comments. If you were looking for a way to repurpose them,
Yes.
and you know what? A lot of people, that isn't their lifestyle. That isn't,
Right. Yeah.
it might not fit into their lifestyle, but we're in a community of, or if you're not, you can be in a community of sharing and buying nothing and giving away. And, you know, old sayings are sayings for a reason. One man's trash is another man's treasure. So those containers are fabulous mini greenhouses. Like,
Oh my God, I'm growing all my plants right now and
yeah,
I didn't know what to cover them in. I don't know if you've seen, I'm trying to grow all my plants for the summer, like my lettuces and stuff.
yes.
And I was like, I don't have anything to put them in. And I had them all along and I didn't know.
So lots of them have holes already in them, which is great for the air.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
The lid obviously opens, so you can let air in, or put them,
Right.
when it starts getting warmer, you can leave the lid open and put them outdoors. But if that isn't something you're doing, you find a buy nothing group, an online group in your area, and say, I mean, maybe not one, maybe wait till you have 3 or 4, they do stack
Right.
nicely together, and say, I've got these, anyone want them for, and I find if you give people ideas, anyone want them for mini greenhouses or clear storage bins for, I don't know, think of something that works well in a clear storage bin.
Shoes. I feel like if you're not using them often, you're giving me all these ideas. Shoes could fit in there. They're big, my spinach bins.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, if you are recycling them,
Yes.
Those in particular, to just I usually put them in the sink and pour boiling water on them, and it flattens the plastic so that as it's going through its recycling, conveyor belt, it's not light and can possibly blow away. Plus, it's more compact, but it does kind of compress it, and then it takes up less room in the recycling bin, which, 3 or 4 of those flattened as opposed to whole takes up a lot less room, which means down in the grand scheme of things, fewer trips for recycling trucks, fewer bins being used, all that kind of stuff.
That is probably the only time you will ever hear me condone pouring boiling hot water on plastic, guys. So we're not going to consume this. We're not going to store in it,
No.
but like, wow. So I would have never in my life thought of those 3 things. Like, so this is why we need people like you to meet us. That's what I got out of what you just said. Meet us where we're at. And you give me a whole new perspective, because when we're the people meeting people where they're at, I meet my clients where they're at. When it's on the other end and someone is meeting me where I'm at, like you're doing right now, wow, my mind is just blowing, because I don't feel the overwhelm. I don't feel the judgment. I don't feel, you know what I mean, that it's going to cause too much stress to my life. I'm like, look at that. I can totally throw it up on, a free site. And if no one,
there will be people who will, I guarantee, who will be thrilled to have those.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it changes. I mean, if there were a different option, obviously that would be the best choice.
Yes.
But, given the quantity and the scale that you're buying it in, if that's the only option, then the next best thing is finding a new life for that item.
Yeah, and I am going to try to reduce, because as you can guess, I planted a crap ton of kale and spinach and lettuces. So at least I will reduce, my purchases, hopefully for as long as I can for the growing season here.
Yes.
Right.
And all of those things you can plant like every 2 weeks. So it's a constant, especially if you like them in the baby form, like baby spinach and baby kale. You can just keep planting it. Well, you can move it indoors too, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, they're mine all indoors now. I have a lot of growing lamps on them. And for me, linking that into, keeping replanting on the nutrition side, the fresher, the better. And the buds and the babies, those are where all the nutrients and magic lies, because they're there to grow the plant. So this all resonates with me perfect for my lifestyle and what I'm doing. So
can I share with you, because this fits in so perfectly, one of my DIY kits that I'm offering just went up online a few days ago. Not specifically for Earth Day, but it's a great time to kick it off. And that is my Grow Your Own Microgreens kit.
All right, guys, I'm going to also, just so you know, link in the bottom in the notes. You'll see we'll put all Susan's information up there. So go on, Susan. We will put this in the notes.
I will give one to you because I want you to see and I want you to share how awesome it is.
I will.
Not only, I mean, it's fun for everyone because microgreens grow literally before your eyes. So every day you see changes, and it's in a reusable plastic takeout container, which we know a lot of people are using, and they're piling up. And the black plastic, at least in our community, can't be recycled, but it can be repurposed. So they're in those, and they have a clear lid, which is perfect for a greenhouse. And it comes with seeds, which are organic and Canadian, and a growing medium, which is a hemp base. So there's no soil, it's not messy.
Right.
And a little glass spray bottle that you use to water them. And
oh my God.
like you
everything.
said, I mean, the nutrition is phenomenal for microgreens, but you get to grow it yourself. And once you know how to do it, you can just keep doing it. Like, so fun.
That is amazing.
So you're saving things that would otherwise be thrown away. You're growing something yourself, which is obviously nutritious, but it's also just fun.
So fun, so
and
empowering.
You get the benefits. It really is. And then the bonus is you've got something like great tasting, good for you, and a new skill that you can brag about, share, keep using for the rest of your life. And incorporate it into your diet, you can't go wrong.
No, absolutely not. Nutrition 101 from that seed. So touching upon just one final thing I wanted to put out there, the takeout thing. The takeout is big these days, you know, with COVID and everything being closed and opened and closed. And I know a lot of us are doing our best to support local, myself included. I always say, we can't make everything from scratch. I can't make all my food. So I enjoy takeout, you know, once a week or so. Um, Let me tell you, no matter how many times I specify either online or phone, no utensils, no this, no that, when my stuff comes and I open the bag, I'm like, oh my God, look what I have accumulated.
Right,
First off,
let's
I would
see
like
it.
to tell you, this bag is like 7 years old because I just washed the same bag over and over again because I used to use them for TLC.
Love
I
it.
don't know what to do with this. I have like major anxiety. So for those of us who do have takeout once in a while, once a week, every day, do you have any tips to
I do.
help us? Our anxiety?
First of all, pat yourself on the back for supporting local because we all need it. I mean, people say, especially now, it hasn't changed. We have always needed to
Right,
support local.
right.
Um, I think, and this isn't true across the board, but dealing as closely as you can with where your food is coming from. So if you're able to call the restaurant, if there's a way you can call when it's not busy, when it's not, an hour before dinner time,
Absolutely.
and have that conversation and say, totally want to support you. I can't deal with another plastic fork in my life. How do you recommend I order, or what do I write, or how do I do this so that I don't get these? And I mean, it's saving them money too, because all of these things cost them money. And if there's a way that you can have that conversation, not when they're in the middle of their
Of
busy
course.
period.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I've heard, and I do know this from the few restaurants that I've supported recently, dealing directly with them and doing pickup if you can, because that
Yes.
does sort of eliminate a middleman, and you're dealing, you can stand there. Usually if you phone, because it's curbside these days, and say, by the way, no utensils, please. Um, Once it comes into your hands, though, there are places, and again, I would suggest a buy nothing group to ask people. Some people have initiatives where they use them. I mean, obviously wash them and use them. I don't know who they are, and it probably changes all the time in terms of their needs as well as what's allowed.
Right.
So it can't hurt to put the word out there. Um, I I have a friend who works in a factory, and he brings utensils, plastic ones, every day because of the environment he's in and their facility for eating. He That's his standard, and
And a
that's what
lot of
works for
kitchens
him.
are, you're right, I'm sorry, a lot of kitchens are closed. For example, my husband still goes to work. He, you know, his job, we're all essential, but his job is deemed essential. They are all in their own offices, and that's fine. That's why it works. But the kitchen's been closed for a year. So he's bringing his stuff back and forth, you know what I mean? But
Right.
like a
Yeah.
lot of people aren't. And you're right. I never thought about different situations
Yeah.
that people
So,
need protect.
or people who are serving, putting together food for people in need. Again, every initiative is different, and every organization has different rules, but there are certainly some out there, definitely. Um, there are ways to repurpose them, like garden markers, because you can write with Sharpie on, the tip of the knife, the handle, whatever, and put it in your plant pot. They're indestructible, so you can, you know, water them and fertilize them, and the plastic will still be there. Um, and again, there are definitely people reinventing ways to use these for crafts and projects that you might not want to yourself, but you can pass that
Right.
along, and
Yeah,
someone will be grateful to have it.
for sure. You can see the spinach bin for terrarium. I was like, yeah. And this one, I was like, I don't think I want to make fork crafts. But there's one I'm happy to pass it on because someone else is just as excited about that as I was with
Absolutely.
my spinach, your spinach idea. So,
Yeah. And they don't want to go
wow.
buy them. They don't want to buy
No,
plastic, but happy to
no.
reuse it. Mhm.
Wow, this is so helpful and so empowering. I am so happy that you took the time to be on the community today, and I sincerely hope in the future that we can, chat again and I can have you back on because you've blown my mind with the ideas that I don't come up with. It's not my expertise, it's your expertise, and we need you big time,
But
like,
the neat thing is, it's working together where the ideas happen, because I could be giving a presentation about how to reduce waste in your home, which is one that I've done online several times.
right,
I'm probably not going to talk about the giant plastic
right.
spinach tub, because it's not part of,
Your
well, it's not
narrative,
part of my 10 easy steps. Maybe now it
right.
will be. But by having a conversation with you, it brings different things to light. So hopefully, someone will get something out of an idea I had, an idea you had, something we came up with together, that fits into their life.
Yeah, that is amazing. So I'm going to be sure all of Susan's information is going to be listed in the notes. Please, she is brilliant. I love following her. Follow her. And you're still, obviously you're doing those kits. I'm so excited about the microgreen kits, and you're still doing online seminars. Is that correct?
I absolutely am. Yeah, now more
Gosh,
than
like,
ever. Um,
okay.
and there's a lot of, it's anywhere from, girl guides to corporate team building, lunch and learn, girls' nights, making beeswax food wraps. I mean, the list goes on. So we're all trying to be creative and think outside the box in terms of not just having fun, but how to add some meaningful moments to our lives that
Yes.
still bring us together, and
So
we still get to have fun, right?
yes, so
I mean,
important. Like,
and yes, that is probably one of the biggest things is, yes, the state of the earth and the horrible things happening in the oceans, all of these are incredibly serious, but we can still make changes that are a joyful part of our life. And just like food, I mean, the food that you create is beautiful,
thank you.
and it's serious in the approach, and there's science behind it, but it can still be a fabulous, fun part of your day.
Yes, you're speaking my language. This is what I mean. Our health is serious, risks, let's say cardiovascular disease, cancer, just like you said, the oceans, the earth, that's serious. And a lot of us are like, ooh,
Yeah,
but exactly. You have to love what you eat and eat what you love. So I want to eat pizza and mac and cheese every day the right way. And we want to help the planet the right way, not in the stressful way. And
that's
you,
right.
my dear, are making it the fun way, and people are gravitated towards that.
That is my goal. Yes. And I want people to feel just like you do, that I want to be their cheerleader. I want to tell them that, if they come up to me and say, today I said no straw, thank you. That's awesome. That is something worth celebrating. And it, like we talked about, if it spurs you on, that's great. If you tell someone you did that, that's fabulous too, because it's just going to plant that seed in their minds too, and it spreads.
1000%. Oh my goodness. Thank you again. It was so fun, and we will definitely be chatting in the future more. I think the TLC community is going to want to see more of you. I'm pretty sure.
And next time we chat, it's going to be outdoors, right?
1000%. Summer's coming. It was a little iffy today with rain, sun, rain, sun. 1000%. We will be in nature,
Yes.
and we will be chatting, and it will be amazing.
I can't wait. And you're going to bring food.
I will bring all the food, and I will bring it in reusable containers. And if I can't, you will help me feel like that's okay and tell me how I can repurpose it.
Love it. I love it. Yes.
All right, we will
can work
take
together.
care, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.